To get started, just want to share a little bit about the Nature Conservancy and who we are and what we do. We're the leading conservation organization working around the world to protect the land and water for both nature and people. We work in all 50 states and 35 countries around the world. And often as we're doing our conservation work, we're working with partners on the ground. It's often other conservation partners, business, governments, school groups, individuals. But what we're doing is working to solve the toughest problems that we have going in terms of food, water, energy, figuring out how people can make smarter decisions about the way that they use nature so we can make people's lives better and safer and more prosperous and do all of that while protecting the natural world for future generations. As you can see on the screen here, a couple of assets that we have as we do this. We have over 1 million members, the majority of whom are based in the United States. And that's what we've started with our localization efforts to change. We've recently launched a membership program in both Hong Kong and Australia. And with both of those going, that was one of the drivers for building our digital capacity, building our digital staff outside the U.S. so that we could make sure what was needed from a branding and marketing perspective was in place to support the membership programs, but then also to use digital and all the unique attributes and offerings from the digital channel to take and start online revenue, start building an online community and a base in various local markets that we could tap and work with to help spread the word about our work and the importance of conservation. Some of the other things you can see here, besides working on land, we also work in the ocean with over 100 marine projects. We work protecting freshwater and rivers and have protected over 5,000 miles of river. What we've done previously and really what started our work 60 years ago was protecting land. And we've protected over 100 million acres of land. Normally, when our membership program was just focused in the U.S., we would try to attribute what that 120 million acres of land was roughly by talking about it in terms of U.S. states. So in terms of how much 120 million acres is, it'd be the 6 states of New England, so Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, added with all of New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Maryland. Today we try to talk about it, bringing in more of the work that we're doing around the world, which it basically equates in square kilometers to Ireland, Iceland, and Italy all together. So just simple things in terms of branding and how we tell our story and how we talk about our work was really just the beginning, let alone taking and really getting our digital channel up and running. And so that's the bulk of what I'll be sharing about today is some of the things we learned, the 10 things that we wish we knew on day one doing this. In terms of our digital program, you can get a sense of our digital assets from our global organization. So for instance, we have over 430,000 Facebook fans on our global account. I think that's actually up about another 100,000 just since the start of the year. But if we were to add in all the other digital entities we have, our Facebooks for our states, for our country programs, Facebook accounts we have for specific languages, it's probably closer to 800,000 or 900,000 Facebook fans. So one of the things that we've tried to do is not just think about localization in terms of websites and kind of our brand, but also in terms of how can we set up digital programs to work, to be scalable and viable as we have staff in different locations, as we have some programs maybe not fully staffed. How is it that we can make sure we're building to that base so that if we have a campaign or we have a message, besides using just these global assets, we can also tap the local markets as well. So a little bit about what drove us to invest digitally and really start to grow our base of support beyond just the United States. I don't think it's surprising for anyone, and I'd say you already know why digital is so important. This is a stat that I saw recently on Mashable talking just about e-commerce and what's projected in terms of sales. And you can see, right, we all know we're addicted to our smartphones, we're buying more and more online. It's the future, and we believe the sooner we can start to figure out the puzzle pieces to make us successful online, the sooner we'll be able to realize our mission. Some of the other things related to why we wanted to make this investment, part of it is just those digital trends and digital needs. We all are need to think about mobile, we need to think multi-screen, but a lot of it was really about building capacity and the way that we're communicating and how that's different. So from localization to personalization and segmentation, and then really being able to get that unique role that only digital can offer us in terms of really being able to make our marketing programs happen more in real time and doing direct response in an even more specialized, personalized way. So as I started on this endeavor just about 2 years ago, I didn't realize this quote that I had seen on the back of a book would sum up my day-to-day world so well. And it was said by an author that international relationships are preordained to be clumsy gestures based on imperfect knowledge. And I would say that that has really held true for us. And there's 10 or so rules we've adopted to help us navigate through what I guess you could say really is imperfect knowledge that we learn as we go. And we often think we're on the right track, but there's a little piece of something missing, or as we like to sometimes say, a surprise that's coming around the corner as we work digitally. So the way that we're trying to solve this, to be able to get our digital programs up and running as quickly as possible, to take and be able to have as much success as possible. We're funded by donors, so we want to use those resources wisely. There's 4 things that we try to make sure we're doing as we're working with our digital programs globally. The first is really focusing on learning all that we can, especially as we're trying to innovate and try new things. To also realize when things aren't working well and to learn what we can from those failures, and figuring out how we can set things up from day one to scale in the local market. We don't want to just set something up that can't be fully supported locally. We don't want to set something up that we're just going to have to tear down and rebuild, a few months later. So we really try to think about how we can learn, how we can innovate, accept that some things are going to fail, and work on the local level and really focus on localization. So with that, I'd like to share the 10 things that we've learned as we do our work. The first thing that's helped us tremendously with our digital program has been looking at our competitors. And I know that competitors aren't always willing to share, aren't always willing to tell you their secrets. But the thing that we've gleaned is that there's always someone who's had to figure out the same thing before. Whatever it is we're trying to do, whether it is to figure out what digital program would work in a market, whether it's to figure out who's going to help us, what platforms, what tools, whether it's talking about the law or the risk, privacy, data, whatever it is, someone's had to figure out the exact same thing before. And they may not share their secrets, they may not share everything with you as if you were, a member of their team, but you can still learn a lot. You can look at where they advertise. You can look at the retargeting and remarketing that they're doing. You can look at different vendors and see who they're saying their clients are. If you actually start to follow your competitors, you can really learn a lot. We also have taken and approached it similar to informational interviews, as if you were applying for a job, taking and trying to meet with them, learn about the challenges they have, learn about their frustrations. Often we've found that competitors will share what hasn't been easy for them and the struggles that they've gone through. So that's been a way that we've really been able to open up some markets. Along those lines, we've set up some strategic user groups, and I'd like to thank Andrew for having us all here today together, a good example of a way that we can learn from each other. One thing that we did was we were working with a partner for some technology services, and we were really finding that the tool wasn't doing everything we needed. And with a few changes, we really felt like it could open up for us and take our digital program to another level. So we found another nonprofit, and in talking with them, realized they felt the same way. And we then proceeded to get 10 other nonprofits, so in total 12 of us together, to share about our experiences, our challenge with the platform, the technology, and came together as a group to basically go to that technology partner we have and say, look, we're 12 of your clients, we're having the same challenge. We've taken and gone back and forth over what features and functionality would help our programs the most, and we're in agreement that this is how we would like to see you, an area we'd like to see you explore with your product. And while it can be a little off-putting, I think, for the technology partner, at the same time, they were very appreciative. We were basically a focus group for them, using real-life clients who, are paying for their services and using their tools. And we were able to get a lot of things on the market so that we could have stronger monthly giving and regular giving programs. And so a lot of times, while you have competitors out there, you likely have similar challenges, and there might be a way that you can come together to advance a digital platform or a digital tool like we have. Best of all, it's a network that's still out there, and from time to time when I get in a jam, there's usually someone I can reach out to, and they're a little bit more willing to point me in the right direction or share some ideas about how to solve my challenge. So setting up strategic user groups, we can't say enough about that. A third thing that we've learned to help keep our digital program growing and innovating is to weave in the idea of compete, to share and reapply. For years, the Nature Conservancy has had a very strong share and reapply practice across the 50 United States. So we might have a market that does a campaign or tries a new marketing initiative, and then we'll share what went well, what went bad, what the budget was, how they were able to do the gala or event. And usually some of the other states might try it in their next fiscal year. But they were getting a leg up. They were, they had all those lessons learned from whoever went first. What we found has been especially helpful working on the local market is to weave in the idea of compete. So for instance, we took our regular share and reapply in terms of how much it costs to get a quality Facebook fan. And our US program at the time when we first did this was getting new Facebook fans for around 30 cents each. Some of the best performing ads, some of the best performing images that were clicked on that caused signups, we shared that with our Australia program. And while the ad wasn't exactly perfect for them, and they took and kind of localized it for them, they had a sense of maybe what might work better based on what we had seen. Quickly, they were only paying 20 cents a Facebook fan, and very excited. They were bringing in more fans for cheaper, and the budget wasn't big. We only had $1,000 for this, just a pilot, a test to see what would happen. But it was that many more fans that they could get. A little while later, our Latin America region had $500 and said that they would try the same thing. And we had a campaign coming up, and they wanted to have a few more folks that could really help be almost like volunteer ambassadors and push out the campaign. They were able to get Facebook fans for just a nickel and found that they would comment as much, engage as much, and that really set off a whole competition across all of our different markets where everyone now was focused on trying to optimize their ads. And what was great is we were able to bring more people in to broaden the base of support for conservation. We were able to use donor dollars more better and more optimized, be able to get more return on investment for that money we were investing. So it's something that we've found from time to time. If we are sharing and reapplying, we also ask the market how they would innovate, what they would do different to take this to another level. And a success we had recently this fall, just a couple months ago, was a photo contest. For about 6 or 7 years now, we've had an online photo contest where you can come and submit your favorite picture of nature. Some of the nature images I've been showing during this presentation are from the photo contest. And the result was that we would narrow all the submissions down from tens of thousands of images down to approximately 25 finalists, from which our online community would pick the best image. And those finalists would be featured in a wall calendar that would be sent out to all of our members. So, it's exciting. You could share a picture of nature that you love, an image that inspires you, and you might, get featured in this calendar that you could have on your wall, and, know it goes out to millions of people across the world. Well, our Hong Kong program loved the online photo contest, but with postage costs what they are, so that's not something that would work in our market. What we want to do is actually exhibit those 25 images, the finalist images, so that in the busy shopping mall, IFC, for those of you familiar with Hong Kong, know how busy that shopping mall is. We can showcase some of these amazing places of nature right here in Hong Kong that people can visit and enjoy being outdoors. And so this is actually a picture before the mall has opened, but it really kind of took the online photo contest to a whole other level by having an exhibit, bringing the online offline, so to speak. And so people were able to share what it was that they could do in their everyday life. That's the wall of Post-its you see there, that they could do to take and try to help advance conservation in Hong Kong. And so sometimes, the word compete or competition might not fit in within your business culture. We found even really just trying to focus on how can you take an idea and innovate on it, and really push a market to really think about how they could innovate something, again, helps us continue to advance simple digital campaigns into something much greater like this exhibit. The fourth rule or lesson that we've learned as we've been building digital capacity so we can pivot as we need to and take advantage of opportunities that come up is what we call mind the gaps. And this is something as simple as, kind of having your digital emergency kit. We create default ads where just a URL and the logo has to be switched out in all the standard sizes, so that if an opportunity comes up, we can take advantage of it. Now, these online ads, some might even say are ugly. You might not be incredibly excited to display them, but it's a starting point, and it allows us to take advantage of that opportunity that comes up. And usually if they aren't getting results, we're able to take and say, okay, these ads aren't working, could we switch them out? And usually the partner will let us do that. But the biggest benefit is that having a template or that pattern which a local market can take and work from often saves time. Sometimes they'll just say, these ads just are so ugly, they won't work. We need to do something more like this. And what's great is that you end up with that product you can then put out in the market. So we've found that that's helped us advance the conversation and take and be able to react to opportunities faster. We do the same thing with email, setting up email templates that can work for e-newsletters, for standalone messages, even emergency situations where maybe it wouldn't be appropriate to have an HTML email chock full of images. Making sure that the bases are covered so that whatever might come, you have something you can use to fill the need. It may not be the perfect thing, but again, it helps to move things faster than not having anything at all. Recently, just about 2 weeks ago, we were able to take from our digital emergency kit some banners and buttons for a large media partner in 3 Spanish-speaking markets we work in who was willing to run our ads. And if we didn't have those, I don't think we would be live on those sites today. So it's something that time and time again, being prepared has its returns and dividends, and already has been about 500,000 views of a campaign that we never would have had before. The 5th thing is to blow up your failures. And I know sometimes it's hard to do that, but we do expect that, unfortunately, all the efforts we do aren't going to work. We'd love them to always work online, but they don't always. And we've found that making sure our team knows that it's okay to fail, provided you learn something, helps us continue to push our digital programs forward, to take calculated risks, and to innovate more than we otherwise would. And so as long as we learn from things that don't work out, that's okay. And that's a culture that we've worked hard to put in place here. The other part of this, blowing up our failures, is we talk about what doesn't work. And in some ways, we talk about what doesn't work more than focusing on what does work. The idea of shouting from the rooftop what doesn't work, so that learning can be out there, and others here at the Nature Conservancy can benefit from it. So we don't hide our failures. We really focus on being transparent and talking about them. And we've found, whether it's talking with other nonprofits on the ground in a particular market, or internally with other departments, it usually helps us come up with whatever we're doing next, being that much stronger and more successful. Along those lines, another value that we've brought to our digital program is to really be curious and ask why. Recently, we had a Google grant for some search engine marketing in one market that was driving a lot of giving. And in another market with a Google grant, while online giving maybe isn't happening at the same level in terms of people that are giving online, it still is happening. It's part of the culture of that market. But none of their search engine marketing ads and keyword buys were producing donations. So we really tried to be curious and ask why. We were working with the same vendor to help us with our search engine marketing. They've been a great partner. But we just couldn't let go how one market could drive so much and the other market nothing at all. It's taken us about 9 to 10 months to finally crack that. And it's resulting in both markets now bringing in online donations. Now they're at different levels, but if we hadn't been curious and continued to ask why we're not seeing online giving in both markets from search engine marketing, right? Something like search, we know that drives e-commerce sales. We know that drives donations in the nonprofit sector. We really would have been leaving money on the table. So time and time again, when folks are telling us that something's not working, when we are seeing with our own experiences something just not replicating in a market, I think we often say, well, it's the market and it's not applicable in that market. And there's definitely cultural sensitivities, and digital does behave differently in different markets, why localization is so important. But at the same time, we find we're curious and ask why and keep trying. In some areas, we've been able to have it turn off into real dividends for us. Number 7 is something that might seem very simple, but it's actually one of the things that I think has helped us learn of great innovations, and that is to share reading lists. Almost every person I encounter, that's one of my first questions, is just what you're reading. What's your favorite blog? Who do you follow on Twitter? What's your favorite email newsletter? And it's a simple thing, whether it's a competitor or someone you've just met, that can yield great dividends. This is something that I received from asking someone the question about what they were reading. They told me about a blog in Asia Pacific that they said every time they look at it, there's some cool campaign that they wish they had. And so I went to this blog, and my very first time there, they had this graph of digital influence that basically was marking for mainland China all the social networks compared to social networks and online sites like eBay and LinkedIn and Facebook, so that it was very easy to understand, who the players were, whether it was mobile chat or online music or review sites. So things like this that, I probably would have created something like this myself. It wouldn't have been probably as complete or accurate. Just from finding out what someone's reading list is has helped me save time and be able to get our digital program that much more applicable and growing faster. Number 8 is to embrace the idea of the tortoise, which some of you may know the story of the hare and the tortoise, a children's book with good life lessons. But this is something that time and time again we find going a little bit slower as we're launching our digital programs can help us actually be more nimble. And it's a hard thing to do as someone working in the digital space. Working in digital, we love change. We love that things are going to be different tomorrow than they are today. We love that we don't know what the next thing is that's coming. So it actually takes some discipline and focus to slow down a little bit. Some of the ways that we've done this is in a local market, as we're getting digital staff set up, as we're building digital capacity there, rather than instantly starting on, say, a Facebook or a website, we'll have our staffers try to use our global assets a little bit longer. So create some content, feature it on the nature.org global site, use some hashtags, run different posts about the specific market through our global Facebook or Twitter accounts. And what we've found is it's helped our staff to build some confidence in doing this, get a sense of what actually generates clicks or get people to engage, be able to test some different tones and some ideas of maybe how to message about our work in a particular place. And it's almost sort of like you're getting up to speed faster versus starting a Facebook and putting the same post out there to 25 or 30 people. So we tend to try to use those global assets a little bit longer and take and have the learning on the job, so to speak, or the learning with that social media network, start with one that's already in place. And then when we actually start up a website or social network in a specific market, the focus can almost be out of the gate on acquisition, because the staff member who's going to be doing the content and the updating and the posting, feels like they have their sea legs, feels like they have a little bit more traction in what it is they then have to do to make this network or digital channel successful. Another way that we've done this is to not launch digital efforts unless we know what they could look like in 18 months. Now, I'm not saying create digital campaigns that have to be stale for 18 months, right? There might be something new that comes out that could really innovate what you're doing. But making sure that the story we're going to tell when we launch a website or the story we're going to tell when we start an email is a story that we're still going to be telling in 18 months, but there's something that we think today we could tell in 18 months, that there's a plan to support the campaign or the initiative or the effort 18 months from now. And if we can't do that, we know that we don't yet have the message, the tone, the story in place. We don't have the plan in place to really come through on launching that digital channel or that digital program in a specific market. And so we'll talk about, maybe it isn't actually a blog that focuses on our forest work. Maybe instead we need to be talking about our work in coral reefs. So we want to make sure that what we start, we're going to see through, that we have enough staff, capacity, resources, budget, to support it for at least 18 months. And we found that that being our kind of bar to get to before we launch digital assets and digital programs, again, is helping us see more success from them faster. Building on that a little bit, on the heels of the Sochi Olympics, we've had to embrace this idea of not going for gold right away. And it's a hard concept in some respects, right? No one's leadership wants to think we're not going for the best we can go for. But sometimes getting something up in the digital space, getting in the market, getting something going, maybe it's only silver or bronze instead of gold, can actually propel you forward. You know, I think about the Olympics and I think all the athletes there, I mean, what an accomplishment. But I have to believe that the person who got silver, you know, has Olympic fever maybe more than anyone else. They want more. They want to do it again. They want to come back. They want gold. And that's something that we see time and time again. Getting something live that generates a lot of traffic or a lot of buzz on Facebook or on media, you know, often can inspire the program, can inspire the new staff to be hungry for doing even more and better next time. And so we have this idea of, you know, not necessarily going for perfect or 100%. We still want to put something in the market that's quality. We still want all of our digital efforts to be meaningful to our supporters and the conservation concerned and conservation engaged out there. But we think about, you know, putting a quality product out there, but maybe not waiting for perfect or what's best. And the last thing that's helped us to put in place a digital program that's scalable and nimble and can continue to grow and change as needed is to ask others about their success. We ask a lot of times what surprised people, but time and time again, even with competitors who are tight-lipped, we can find if we ask someone to tell about their success, they almost can't help themselves. They want to talk about what it is that they're proud of, what it is that they worked hard for. They want that credit, and it's a great learning opportunity for you. So that's something else that we found time and time again helps us to build digital programs from day one with all of our different assets in a market and really be able to optimize them or go down a pathway that we think might get us there quicker. So that sums up the 10 rules that we embrace to try and stay nimble, to make sure that what we're putting in place for digital today is something that we can build upon, that it's going to be viable tomorrow, that it's going to be able to scale for whatever might come, either from our organization or in a particular market. And this idea that, you know, if something isn't working, to let it fail fast and change things so that you can get on a path and try again. And so hopefully hearing some of the ways that we've applied these ideas over the last few years as we've worked to expand our digital program from just being a US-centric program into one that is working in a variety of markets where we've been doing conservation. I hope it's helped to provide some ideas for you and your program.
I'd like to thank everybody for your participation, and Sue, thank you very much. It's always a distinct honor to have someone like you and former clients to speak with us and to our group of followers. And thank you very much, and I wish everybody a good evening, afternoon, or rest of the day wherever you are. Thank you.